Hi, welcome back. So today we're going to talk a little bit about hydraulic fluid. I've got three different types of hydraulic fluid here. This is the Castrol RR363, this is the hydraulic mineral oil, this is a comma version, and this is the Pensin or the central hydraulic system fluid. These are pretty much used on the Shadow range of cars. This is Spirit and Bentley turbos, and this is the Arnage and Serifs. So we'll start off with the older one. This is effectively a DOT4 brake fluid with a castor oil based lubricant in it. The reason that you can't just use normal DOT4 brake fluid is because the hydraulic system on Silver Shadows have a lot of moving mechanical parts. They need lubrication. If you don't use the right fluid, you could cause excessive wear. One option people try and consider is to add castor oil to their normal DOT4 brake fluid, because this is actually not very cheap. The problem with that is that they have a different weight, so what you'll find in the reservoir is they'll level out and you'll end up with castor oil at the top and brake fluid at the bottom, or the other way around, and it doesn't mix and it's not going to work. They developed this with something that keeps the castor oil suspended in the fluid so that it's constantly in there lubricating the system. The problems with this is that one of the biggest problems I would say is that it's hygroscopic, so it actually attracts water and it gets moisture in it. Now what that does is, if you don't regularly change the fluid and flush it through, you end up with a lot of rust building up inside the system. It affects everything really. If you try and open an old caliper from a Shadow, you'll take the piston out and it'll be all rusty and horrible in there. Whereas with the mineral oil, because it is like basically it is oil, so when you take it out, there's no rust. They're usually much nicer, much better preserved. So I think that's why they developed the mineral oil system. Big problem with that is that if you put mineral oil in a Shadow or brake fluid in a Spirit, you will contaminate all the rubber components, and there's a lot of them. So your whole hydraulic system, we're talking reservoir, brake pumps, valve body accumulators, G-valve, rams, height control valves, calipers, rubber hoses, everything will have to be removed, completely resealed, and the whole system flushed if you contaminate it, and it doesn't take a lot. Even a little bit goes in, and the system's going to be contaminated, and you're going to cause the rubber to all swell up and just lose brakes. So when you open up an accumulator that's had contaminated oil in there, the diaphragm goes from this size to it's like a balloon. It completely balloons up and goes soft. So that's the most biggest no-no, is to put the wrong fluid in your car. You always make sure when you're topping up that you've got the right fluid. There is warning labels on the reservoirs, but we've seen several recently where it's happened, and it does happen. So the Shadow, up to 1980 they used the RR363, and the Corniche obviously carries on from pre-80 to after, and they go to a mineral system on the Corniche, but it's 50,000 series early chassis numbers and then 17-digit chassis numbers. If your car's got a 17-digit chassis number, it will be on mineral oil, but still check, don't take my word for it, always double check. So the mineral oil is in these bottles. These aren't the original bottles, this is a comma version of the mineral oil. The only reason is because it's currently on back order, the Rolls-Royce one or the Bentley one. They used to have a Castrol bottle, but now it comes in this. It usually comes in 500ml. This is a litre bottle, but the Castrol version, it's now a Bentley branded version. Now you do need one of these special spouts if you're going to fill your reservoirs up. The reservoirs have a awkward little filling spout. The early ones have a green cap. There's two reservoirs and the green cap, and they have a lead seal with a wound wire around it to stop people opening it up and pouring in brake fluid. So the idea is that you can only use mineral oil filling bottle to fill it up. That's to try and stop people putting brake fluid in it. But so you will need one of these filling spouts if you're going to. You can't just buy a bottle of this and pour it in. originally the bottles came with this, and if you look in the boot, you may even have a spare bottle of mineral oil with a filler on it, which you can just use to decant the mineral oil into and use that to fill up the car. It's a much better system just because of the rust and contamination, because when you open up a reservoir of a shadow, a lot of the time it's full of gunk and sludge, and that's why hydraulic services require you to flush it out regularly. People very rarely do that because it's very expensive. So yeah, the mineral oil system went all the way up through to the end of the kind of the crew before Bentley was bought by Volkswagen and Rolls-Royce was bought by BMW. Then when that happened and the Arnage and the Serif were introduced, they move over to a kind of more a BMW based system which uses this central hydraulic system fluid. So on the Arnage and the Serifs, you have a pump that drives high pressure fluid, which does your suspension and your steering and your brakes. So this fluid that's why they call it central hydraulic system, because it does those three items. It's effectively power steering fluid, but it's used on the suspension and brakes as well. It's not the actual fluid that goes into the calipers. What this does is it applies pressure to a brake booster, which is then attached to a normal type of master cylinder, which when you put your foot on the brake, pumps DOT4 brake fluid to the calipers. So you've got like a regular brake fluid system with a booster, a high pressure booster attached to it, which gives you extra braking force. That's all I can really think of to say about this now, but please feel free to comment if you have any questions and we'll try and answer them for you. Thanks for watching.